welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
And this is Mark Florence.
And today we're talking about the Amazon Prime TV show, Homecoming. Now, we had the fortunate opportunity to binge watch this entire show on Monday of this week because it was Veterans Day observed, and we both get Veterans Day off.
Yes, we're both government employees, and we took the time, and it was sort of fitting that we watched it on Veterans Day because it had a lot to do with veterans.
So if you're not familiar with this show, it's based on a podcast of the same name created by Eli Horowitz and Micah Bloomberg, and this show is produced by Sam Esmail, who produces and made Mr. Robot.
Yeah, I didn't know that at the time, but now looking back, I can see the similarities to Mr. Robot.
We really like Mr. Robot. We're not current, but the first season was just one of my favorite things. So this show stars Julia Roberts. It's considered a psychological thriller. Some of the other people in it, Bobby Cannavale, Stephen James, Shea Wingham, Alex Kapovsky, and Sissy Spacek. We are going to talk about some spoilers, just to warn you, but if you want to hear one more thing before you turn it off, if you don't want to hear spoilers, know that this is ranked 99% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. When we started it, it was 98% fresh, but today it is 99% fresh.
That's amazing to be that high. And these days when everyone's so cynical about everything, so that's very impressive. And I agree that it should definitely get a fresh rating.
Yes, we were pleasantly surprised and very impressed with this show. So if you've got 5 hours, you can knock it out.
And I always love going into a show or movie knowing absolutely nothing about it. So that was me. The only thing I knew was that Julia Roberts was in it. I didn't know anything at all about it. So avoid all spoilers if you don't know anything and just go watch it.
So now we are going to get into the spoilers. I, too, didn't know anything about it going in. The only clue that I had was that it was something about veterans. And I was like, okay, maybe this is going to be too heavy and it's going to be kind of like the show Intervention, where we're just seeing different people in therapy every week or every episode dealing with their PTSD, which could be a very compelling show. But I don't know that I would have been in the mood for that show. But this show is not that. It is so much more than that. And right away, there's this feeling like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah, I really like the feeling, kind of an uneasy feeling this show kind of gave you the whole time. You really didn't know what was going on. You kind of sense some conspiracy or bigger government plan behind the scenes because this facility seemed so perfect, but you could kind of tell that there was something not right about it all.
Now, Julia Roberts, this character, we are flashing back and forth between the future and the present, and because the present, recent past, is taking place in April and May of 2018, and then time has passed and we're flashing to the future. Now, a cool thing that happened, and this is very spoilery, a cool thing that happened was every time it was showing the future, the screen was smaller. There were bars on the sides of the screen. And at first, it's like, wait, why are they doing that? It's kind of distracting. But then it became a nice way to see, oh, this scene is set in the future. So it was very clear. But then it's revealed later, and it blew my mind, that every time those bars are up, it's showing that memories are missing, which is amazing.
Yeah, that was just a brilliant idea to show the two timelines, quote unquote, or lack thereof of memories. I'm sorry, I can't come up with a better term, but yeah, I mean, and it really made it obvious to the viewer, like, what you were watching. There was never like, is this now or is this then? Or so, yeah, it was very well done.
And it was that nonlinear time or storytelling was so brilliant too, because this mystery is being revealed. We don't know exactly what happened on May 15th. We know what the report says, and we don't even know. I mean, Julia Roberts' character, she doesn't even know what happened because she has no memory of even working there.
Yeah, and then you kind of feel like she's lying to this guy who works for the DOD, the Department of Defense. You feel like she's lying because he's asking her questions about this place, but in all reality, she has no recollection of it for a very specific reason that I don't know if we'll talk about or not.
So I really liked her character because we get to see through the process of the entire story. We're not really sure where she's coming from at first. We think, is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy? Is she hiding something? Did she run away because she did something wrong? But we get to see through these flashbacks that, hey, she didn't have a great life. She didn't like a lot of her jobs. She's been trying hard to do the right thing and be somebody. And all of a sudden, she's given this opportunity, which is actually just a chance to be manipulated by Bobby Cannavale's character. But, she's going to go full in and try to do the best that she can. And really, she's just getting screwed over.
Yeah, I mean, when they introduce the character, you feel like she's this lifelong like businesswoman type, high executive person, but you later find out that she's very new to it all and doesn't have much experience, and that's one of the reasons that she was selected for the position that she was in because Bobby Cannavale needed somebody in that position who he could have a lot of power over and pretty much try to make them do whatever he needed them to do to achieve their ultimate goal.
Most of their scenes in the past are, or present, I quote unquote, are split screen, and we just see them talking on the phone, and they even do the audio, so it sounds like they're talking on the phone, which is another brilliant touch. And it's so well done. And I didn't know it was a podcast until after we finished the show. But I see that they said on the podcast a lot of it is just two-person conversations, and we're just listening to it. But it works on the show, and that dynamic and how he acts and his whole demeanor and everything that he's doing while on the phone compared to what she's doing. It's such good storytelling and such good character development.
Yeah, he's really a cutthroat corporate guy trying to climb the ladder in the Geist Corporation, I think it's called, and he pretty much stop at nothing to develop this medication for the soldiers.
And so we think that their altruistic goal is to help these veterans recover from their PTSD and be able to move on with their lives. But what they're actually doing, of course, is getting them ready to be sent back to war, and that they've lost these memories, and so nothing is triggers them anymore, which is so terrifying because we don't want to lose control of our minds or our memories, and if somebody could take them away without our knowledge, that's horrifying.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I could see how it would be from the military's perspective beneficial because they talk about how they've invested so much into these troops or these people, and if they can only serve like one or two tours, that doesn't really help them. But I mean, you got to draw the line morally somewhere. I mean, you can't be erasing people's memories so they think they want to go right back. That's just unacceptable.
Oh, it's crazy to think about. And they are giving them these drugs. They're actually giving them placebos and the actual pills, and then they're drugging their food, which is really clever because of course they're going to eat dinner there, and there's nothing around, so it's not like they can go grab a burger or a beer anywhere. Now there was the plot line in the first few episodes where the one friend was paranoid and saying, we could be out in the middle of anywhere because they built a replica Northern African city outside of Tucson, and it was believable down to the smell. And so we could be anywhere. What did you think about that plot line? Like, were you going along with it?
I definitely thought that's what was going on, especially after they didn't really want them to leave ever, and they broke out and they were driving forever. It didn't seem like there was anything around, and then they came to this really weird, fake-looking town, and everything just seemed weird, just off. And then they were a security guard encountered them, and they attacked the security guard. I don't know if I want to say what really happened, but that's part of what happened.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I was trying to figure out the clues. It's like, did they plant that pelican there to make it seem like Florida? And did they put fake Florida license plates? And then we were getting the hints that, like Sissy Spacek was saying, oh, when you came back from Tampa. So we're like, well, maybe it's real because she believes that or she thinks that. But we didn't know whose memories to trust or whose stories to trust because we didn't know what anyone's intentions were. And I think that made for an edge of your seat kind of mystery.
Yeah, definitely. And the Department of Defense agent guy who was investigating all this, because one of the soldiers' moms filed a complaint like 3 years earlier or something like that. But he was a great character too. He was just like a cog, like in the middle of the government. He didn't really have much power, and they just wanted him to kind of stay within the strict parameters of his job, and either I can't remember the exact words, like elevate the complaint or negate the complaint or something like that. But he got really into this case, and he went above and beyond what he usually would have done for one of these types of cases.
Yeah, he's a great character too. I loved seeing things through his perspective and see him uncover things in his investigation. Now, this Colin, her boss, this is Bobby Cannavale, he thinks that she's onto him, and he goes out to confront her, but ultimately realizes she does not have any memory of him. And what a jerk!
Yeah, and then he uses everything he already knows about her to kind of act like some guy who's leaving his wife or something, and they kind of form a relationship, and it's really creepy to know that he already knows her and the weird relationship they already had, but she has no recollection of who he is. So
I mean, the how much advantage he's taking of her, it feels so icky, and it's like not okay on any level. And then the other weird element to this is he comes home and he's going to admit to his wife what happened. And she's like, no, what do we do with these things? We put them in the box and then we forget about them. And that was a very weird way to handle it. So they have this box of things that they're not telling each other. Now, there's only 10 episodes, like I said, and they're 20-minute, half-hour episodes, so you can get through it pretty quickly. And they've left some things up in the air. Not all of the plot points have been solved, and so I think we can definitely explore this world some more and find out what happens to our main characters.
yeah, where they left it at the end, I was kind of thinking that would be a place where you could leave it, and leave it kind of open-ended. But then we immediately found out that they were making another season, which made sense, and I'm really looking forward to the new season.
So the budding romance or possible romance between the two main characters, I think you said, like, they seem like they have kind of a big age difference, but whatever. I mean, how often have we seen older men with younger women? I think we can see Julia Roberts with a younger guy.
Yeah, I mean, the guy seemed to be about 25 maybe, and she's about 50 something. But to me, they seem more to have like more of a friend type connection than like a really romantic one. But she was kind of an awkward person anyway. She had this boyfriend at the beginning, Dermot Mulrooney, and she couldn't give two craps about the guy, and he was all like, he pretty much followed her down to Florida, and he was just hanging out by himself all the time, and he was all needy and stuff, and he was all like, and she just didn't care.
His character was hilarious, and I love that they included him because he wasn't necessarily needed for the plot, but boy did he add a lot.
Yeah, it kind of showed like what she was like, and what her relationships were like, and maybe what she had missed in her life, and maybe what she might find in this Cruz guy.
Yeah, the other main character's last name was Cruz. Walter Cruz. So, a spoiler alert for the ending. They had talked about where they would road trip, and I think she was using that talk and that map and that final meal together to sort of plant this memory in his mind, because she sort of knew that, he was going to have this dose, and so was she, and that maybe this would come back to them eventually. But she finds him, and then we don't know if he remembers her or not, but he does a little thing where he leaves her fork or a knife or something askew, like he used to leave her pen sort of slanted on her desk. So it's a hint that maybe he remembers, or maybe it was just a natural response. But there, there's a possibility there. And then there's a secret scene.
I can't remember. I can't remember the secret scene right now.
Remember Bobby Cannavale's secretary is all of a sudden now his boss?
Oh, yes, that was very it was a very cool scene, because he thought he was waiting for this, the owner of the company to meet with him, and the secretary was just in there with him, and he was being a huge asshole to her, hey, go get me some coffee, and she was trying to ask him questions, and he's like, you don't need to know about this. But then it was revealed that she pretty much went over him in the ladder, and she's now his boss, and basically made him take responsibility for all the big fiasco that happened.
Yes, and then the final shot, she's putting some of the memory loss medicine on her wrists, almost like, perfume or something, but it's what is going on?
Yeah, that was definitely creepy. She's puts a little on her wrist, and she just stares blankly off into space, and it's what's going on here? So that was a pretty good way to end it, I thought.
Yes. Oh, what a great show. Anything else you want to say before we rank it?
Yeah, I mean, am I allowed to say anything negative about the show, or is this all positive stuff?
Well, I mean, I guess it's just your thoughts.
Okay. I thought it maybe was a little long and got somewhat slow at some parts. I mean, that's nitpicking, but and maybe, like Kelly said, I mean, she may have implanted that thought or memory into his head to go up to California and live there, but it seemed kind of too idealistic that, he got out, and 3 or 4 years later he was actually in this little small town in California like they had planned. I don't know.
But I also think maybe more will be revealed. Maybe that this isn't even really happening. Maybe these are false memories.
This could be true. And and then there's more questions about the memory loss, because she was triggered back to being woke, so to speak, with her memories by the pelican making the noise when she was at the facility again, which looked completely different, but that pelican noise pretty much brought her all the way back. So be interesting to see, maybe he kind of remembers her, or
yeah, he might have been playing that he didn't remember her, but really he does.
I don't know. It was weird. I mean, it was kind of weird that he just have this long, intense conversation with a perfect stranger at this diner. But he led on. He didn't lead on at all that he knew who she was. But then he, like Kelly said, he turned her fork to the side or something. So that was a definite clue that he remembered her.
Now, obviously, if you're listening to this or if you've watched the show, you'll know this is reminiscent of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And they keep losing their memories of each other, but they keep finding each other because there's just something about love and those relationships. And so even if they want to forget each other, maybe they can't.
That could be too, yeah. I mean, we'll have to watch the next season, I guess.
So what's our scale to rank this TV show? Growling pelicans?
Sure, yeah.
For 0 to 10, 0 being you hated it, 10 being it's a perfect TV show, how many growling pelicans do you give Homecoming?
I think I'd give it a 9. I really enjoyed it. We basically just watched the entire show from start to finish without really stopping it, I think, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's always great when you can block out the time and there's no kids around and you can just focus entirely on that. so you're not missing stuff. I mean, it's a pretty, I guess, detailed show where you really got to pay attention to what's going on. You can't just be half watching. So, no, I really enjoyed the show, and I'm really looking forward to the next season. And it was nice to see Julia Roberts in something again, because I don't even remember what the last thing I saw her in was.
I also give it a nine growling pelicans. I thought it was compelling. It had me on the edge of my seat. It made me laugh and cry and be angry and shocked. It made me feel everything. So I highly recommend it.
And I really like the way they like pieced together the story, like from the beginning and then moving back, and it kept kind of moving into this middle part of the May 15th incident. But I mean, it was kind of like an onion, just revealing like little layers at a time, and you just, you really had no idea what was going on, and you didn't really know if she was lying, or it wasn't revealed till a little later that maybe she had lost her memories. So yeah, I really liked the approach they took to telling the story.
I agree. What a great show. Well, we hope you're having a great week, Horror Rewind listeners. Until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.
Bye.